For 7 years, I paid for my sister's medical degree. When she graduated, she took me to court over our grandfather's inheritance. Your only job is to sacrifice. That's your place in this family, she said. During the inheritance hearing, I handed the judge an envelope. The judge simply looked at my sister and burst out laughing. For 7 years, I didn't have a life. I worked 60-hour weeks in industrial logistics, ate instant noodles for dinner, and drove a beat-up 1998 Honda Civic with a cracked windshield. Every spare cent I made went directly into my younger sister's bank account. She was the family's golden child, the brilliant one who was going to be a surgeon. I was just the older brother, the high school graduate who was expected to pave the way. I did it willingly because our parents died when we were young, and I promised our grandfather I would take care of her. I paid her tuition. I paid her rent. I paid for her expensive textbooks and her networking dinners. I sank over $250,000 into her future, sacrificing my own 20 so she could wear that white coat. 2 months after she finally graduated, our grandfather passed away. He left behind a modest estate, his savings, and the family home we grew up in. In his will, he left the house to me, and his savings to my sister. It was a fair slip, especially considering I had financially carried her for nearly a decade. But the ink on her medical license was barely dry when I got served with papers. She was suing me. She contested the will, claiming I had exerted undue influence on a vulnerable old man to steal the family home. She wanted the house, the savings, everything. She wanted me on the street. I called her, my hands shaking with a mix of grief and absolute disbelief. I asked her how she could do this after everything I sacrificed for her. Her response is burned into my brain forever. Her voice was ice cold, devoid of any empathy. Don't act like a martyr, she scoffed. Your only job is to sacrifice. That's your place in this family. I'm a doctor now. I have a status to maintain. You're just a warehouse manager. You don't need a house like that. Something inside me snapped. The loving, protective older brother died in that exact moment. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just hung up the phone. She assumed I was weak. She assumed that because I played the provider role for so long, I would just roll over and let her take everything. She forgot one crucial detail about me. I handle logistics. I document absolutely everything. For the next 4 months, I didn't say a word to her. I let her lawyer send aggressive letters. I let her posture and brag to our extended family about how she was going to correct Grandpa's mistake. I just quietly prepared. The day of the inheritance hearing arrived. My sister sat at the plaintiff's table, wearing a designer suit I had indirectly paid for, looking incredibly smug. Her lawyer gave a passionate opening statement about fairness, equity, and how I had manipulated a dying man out of his primary asset. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't bring a lawyer. I stood up, holding a single thick manila envelope. Your Honor, I said calmly, I don't contest that my sister deserves her legal share of the estate. In fact, I completely agree with her pursuit of accurate accounting, which is why I brought this. I walked forward and handed the envelope to the judge. My sister rolled her eyes, whispering something to her lawyer. She thought it was a heartfelt letter from our grandfather, or maybe a pathetic plea for mercy. It wasn't. The judge opened the envelope and began to read. The courtroom was dead silent. A minute passed, then another. Suddenly, the judge's shoulders started to shake. A sharp snort escaped his lips. He looked over the rim of his glasses, locked eyes with my sister, and burst out laughing. It wasn't a chuckle. It was a deep, booming laugh of pure disbelief. Counselor, the judge said, wiping a tear from his eye and turning to her lawyer. Did your client disclose the nature of her financial arrangement with the deceased and the executor? Her lawyer looked confused. Your Honor, the judge held up the documents. These are signed, notarized promissory notes. Every single tuition payment, rent check, and living expense the respondent paid for his sister over the last 7 years was legally structured as a loan against her future inheritance, authorized and signed by the grandfather as the guarantor. All the color drained from my sister's face. By contesting the will and demanding a full probate accounting, the judge continued, a harsh smile playing on his lips. Your client has officially triggered the repayment clause. She doesn't just get nothing from this estate. According to this math, she currently owes her brother $284,000, payable immediately. The silence that followed was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. My sister stammered, frantically grabbing at her lawyer's arm. That was just a formality. Grandpa said it was just paperwork for taxes. He promised. Well, doctor, the judge replied coldly, tossing the papers onto his desk. The law doesn't care about your place in the family. It cares about your signature. Case dismissed. I walked out of the courtroom into the bright afternoon sun. My sister chased after me in the hallway, screaming, begging, and finally crying, asking how she was supposed to pay off nearly $300,000 of debt on top of her new lifestyle. I didn't even break my stride. I just looked over my shoulder and gave her the only answer she deserved. Your only job is to pay it back. That's your place in this family.